Hacking concepts. Now, hacking phases. Now, when we talk about hacking, so there is no some software there. There is no a single tool, or there is no the single method you use to do hacking. It is not like I will tell you one tool and you will use that tool or application and you will start doing hacking. It is not like that. Hacking is basically a process. It is a process which has 5 phases of it. We have 5 phases of that which you have to do for doing some kind of hacking. So if you do these 5 phases properly, only then you can do some hacking. These phases are like reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and clearing tracks. So if you want to do a proper hacking, then you have to do properly these 5 phases. These are the main important thing in hacking, and it is what reconnaissance, scanning, gaining access, maintaining access, and clearing tracks. Now, first phase for the hacking is reconnaissance. Now, reconnaissance refers to the preparatory phase where an attacker seeks to gather information about a target prior to launching a attack. So before attacking anything, we have to gather the information about that target, and could be the future point of uh, it could be future point of return, noted for ease of entry for an attack when more about the target is known on a broad scale. Reconnaissance target range may include the target organization's client, employees, operations, network, and systems. So reconnaissance is basically the first phase where you gather the information about the target clients, target employees, operations, their networks, and systems, so that we can plan our target, plan our attack, like how we can do some attack. Now, for reconnaissance, we have two types: passive reconnaissance and active reconnaissance. Now, passive reconnaissance involves in acquiring the information without directly interacting with the target. Now, for example, we don't interact with the target directly. We use public searching records or news releases. So we will not directly interact with the target. We just gather the information whatever available in the public sources, search engines, public searching records, and also news releases also. Now this is what passive reconnaissance. And then we have active reconnaissance. Now, in active reconnaissance, it involves interacting with the target directly by any means. Now, in this, we interact with the target and we interact directly. We can use telephone calls to interact, help desk, or technical department. For example, you can call the help desk of the target and you try to gather some information, or you can try to call the technical department. Now, even some hacker can do what? They can enter the premises of the target. They can enter the premises of the target by using or personating somebody else and trying to get the information. Now, when you do this, that means you are interacting with the target. And when you are interacting with the target directly, that means you are using the active reconnaissance. So basically, the reconnaissance phase is to gather the information, and that information is very much important for planning your future attack. Then we have next phase, that is scanning phase. Now scanning phase is your pre-attack phase. That means before attacking the target, you will do the scanning part. This is the pre-attack phase, where scanning refers to what? The pre-attack phase, when the attacker scans the network for specific information on the basis of information gathered during reconnaissance. So when you gather some information from the reconnaissance, maybe it is not exactly what it is maybe it is what gathering from the public sources and you are not sure it is exactly what it is. Then in this scanning phase, you try to do search that whether it is exactly the thing is not, is it there or not. So if it is the information there, then you will make sure that information is right or not right with this scanning phase, where you can do the port scanner. Port scanner includes use of dialer port scanner, network mappers, ping tools, vulnerability scanners, etc. to scan the ports. Now what is port? So the port is what? In a network, anything works with some protocols. So there is common protocols we have in TCP IP suite, protocol suite. In that suite we have lots of protocols, and anything happens on network, that happens on some kind of protocol. Now those protocols has a unique port number, and that is fixed port number they have. They have UDP port number and TCP port number. Now for scanning the port, that means we want to know that which services, which protocols are running there on the target system. That means when you know that there is a port number 80 is running, that means you will know that the protocol HTTP is running, and protocol HTTP is running, that means there is a web services is running. So for that, by scanning the port, you can know that what exactly services are running on the target system, and that is what you will get by scanning the port. And this is what scanning phase, and it is to extract the information. So attackers extract information such as live machines, that what machines are running there, what ports they are having, and what is the status of the port. What is the status of the port? That means whether the port is open to have connection or the port is not open. And then we can get the operating system detail also, we can get the device types, we can get the system uptime, and etc. To launch the attack, system uptime is also important here. System uptime means what? The system is running since last time it was rebooted. That means suppose if says the system time says that it is running since 2 days, that means it has not been rebooted since 2 days. Now when you say it is not it has been not rebooted since 2 days, that means within these 2 days whatever the vulnerabilities, whatever the problems came in these type of operating system, it will remain there. Because when you patch the problems, when you update the software, you have to reboot the system. So whenever you install the update or patches, you have to reboot the system. And if it is not rebooted, that means those new patches or updates have not been installed, and we can use those problems which is created by those which is solved by those updates, and which the vulnerabilities are still there, so we can use those vulnerabilities and we can launch the attack. So this is the pre-attack phase, where we can make sure the exact information about the target, and still it is actually gaining the gathering the information. Then after doing the scanning phase, next is the gaining access. Now gaining access means now you are ready to attack, and while you are attacking the system, you want to get the information, you want to get the control of the system. That means you want to get the access, you want to gain the access. So gaining access refers to the point where the attacker obtain access to the operating system or application on the computer or network. So the attacker can gain access at the operating system level, application level, or network level, and the attacker can escalate the privileges to obtain complete control of the system. So when attacker get any kind of access on your system, then what it will do, it will try to escalate the privilege. That means if suppose it gets the access of normal user, so it will not be able to do everything on the system. So it will do what, it will try to escalate the privileges to get the access of admin user, so that it can do more things. It can do complete control. Now in the process, immediate system that are connected to it are also compromised. So when it gets the access of the admin user, then it will do what, it can compromise other systems within the network also. So attackers aim is to first gain the access on one system. Now gaining the access means it will gain the access on one system, then it will try to escalate the privilege so that it can get the access of other systems also. Now it will gain the access based on whatever we have gathered the information in those previous two phases. So whatever information we gathered in reconnaissance phase, whatever the informations we gathered from the scanning phase, we use all those informations to design the attack to attack the system and try to gain the access in this phase. Example includes password cracking, buffer overflows, denial of service, session hijacking, etc. So attacker in this phase try to do password cracking, try to do buffer overflows. This buffer overflows is the software problem. If the software is not properly designed, then it can use this to overflow the buffer to gain the access, unauthorized access. To do the denial of service, very simple, denial of service means the server is to serve the services, and if it is not able to serve the service, that means it is under the denial of service. To make the servers denial of service, then they can do session hijacking for this. They can hijack the sessions which is already connected. So if suppose some user is already connected to the server, already the session is established, so they can try to hijack the sessions. Benefit of hijacking the session is that you don't have to authenticate, because already it is authenticated by someone and you are hijacking the session of that user. So using these kind of method and many more method, they can do what? They can do gain the access. So with this phase, attackers try to gain the access of the system. Then next phase is to maintaining the access. Now once it is gain the access, so maintaining access refers to the phase when the attacker tries to retain his or her ownership of the system. That means it will try to remain that system with it. It will not allow the system to get away. So it will try to take the ownership, and it will try to keep the ownership for a long time. That means it will try to maintain the access. Now attacker may prevent the system from being owned by other attackers also, by securing their exclusive access with the backdoor, rootkits or trojans. That means what it do actually, it will try to prevent the system by other attackers also. That means suppose if there is a vulnerability and it has used by the attacker to gain the access, so it will try to close that door also, so that no other attacker can get that door, and only the attacker which gained the access can maintain the access of that system, and also nobody else can remove the access of this attacker. So for that, what it can do actually, it can install the backdoors and rootkits and or trojans also. These are different type of malwares. Software is the softwares which we use. Malware is the malware is the kind of software which do the malicious things. So these are all malwares, backdoors, rootkits, trojans. So it will use these kind of backdoors to do what? To maintain the access of the system. Attacker can upload, download or manipulate data application and configuration on the own system. Then attacker use the compromised system to launch further attacks. So as I said, that once it is getting the access of one system, it will try to use the system for other attacks also, to attack other systems on the network and try to gain the access of other systems also. So maintaining access means it will try to retain the ownership of the system, so that no other attacker can own the system, and also the real administrator can also not remove the ownership of this attacker. Now finally, in the last phase, what we'll do is to clear the tracks. It is clearing the tracks. Clearing the tracks refers to the activity carried out by an attacker to hide malicious act. The attacker intentions include continuing access to the victim's system, remaining unnoticed and uncaught, deleting evidence that might lead to his prosecution. The attacker overrides the server system and application logs to avoid suspicions. So very simple. In this phase, what attacker will do, it will try to remove his footprints, try to remove his tracks. That means if someone checks the system, they should not know that somebody has gained the access of this system. So that if suppose the owner of the system knows about that the system is compromised, then it will try to use the preventive methods. It will try to save the system and it will remove the access of attacker. So clearing tracks, that means it should not be know that the owner of the system does not know that somebody has already gained the access on this system. So clearing tracks to remove the tracks of the attacks. So clearing tracks means removing the tracks of your attacks. And if suppose you are attacking some of the official things like government things or something, then you should not be into the consequences of the law. So you don't have to you have to remove your tracks, otherwise you don't have to be into the problem. So you have to remove your tracks. You have to remove that nobody has attacked, and you have to remove all the tracks that nobody can see that someone has already compromised the system. So attacker always cover their tracks to hide their identity. So you don't have to provide the evidence, you don't have to provide your identity. So you have to you have to clear all the tracks. You don't have to you don't want to leave any evidence of you, so that it can be used for your prosecution. So clearing tracks is the final phase. So these are the 5 phases. If you do properly, then you will do some attacking and also you will come out clear. That means reconnaissance and scanning, these are pre-attack phase, where you gain the information, you gather the information about the target, whatever, wherever and who is. That means you will try to gather all the information about the target, that who is the target, where is the target, and what are the problems of those target that we can attack on it. And then gaining access is the attack phase, where we do the real hacking, where we do use those information which we gathered from the reconnaissance and scanning phase, and to do the attack and try to gain the access on the system. And when you gain the access on the system, you have put lots of effort to gain the access, so you just don't want to lose the access right now. You don't want to lose the access very easily. So next phase is that to maintain the access. You have gained the access of a system, so you will always try to maintain the access, so that you can use that system to use another attack and do the attack on other systems also. Now finally what we do, we clear the tracks to remove the evidences and remove the any suspicious things about the system has been compromised. Mostly and basically we'll do this by removing the logs. We remove the server log, system log and application logs. Remember, whatever you do in any system or network, there is always be the logging system. So administrators of the system and network, they configure the logging system for it. They use the logging system to check what happens in the system and network. So you have to remove those logs for remove your tracks. So you remove those logs which is your logs and what you have done, and that logs are there. So you will remove those logs so that nobody can see that what is happening in that system. And that we do in this phase, clearing tracks. So that was the main 5 phases of hacking. Now, what is ethical hacking? We say hacking, but what is ethical hacking? Now, when we say hacking, it is simple. It is what? It is doing illegal things, gaining the access and doing theft. So it is not legal. Now, what is ethical hacking? So ethical hacking involves the use of hacking tools, tricks and techniques to identify the vulnerability so as to ensure the system security. And it focuses on simulating techniques used by attackers to verify the existence of exploitable vulnerabilities in the system and security. Ethical hackers perform security assessment of their organizations with the permission of the concerned authorities. Now basically, when we configure the system, when we configure the network, as a network administrator, as a system administrators, we think about the network and system a simple way. Like, this is the system and this is the way I can secure my system. I can add firewall, I can do this configuration, I can disable this access so that my system and network will be secure. If I am designing the applications, I will use these type of codes, these type of codes, that type of codes to secure my application. But basically, these system administrators, network administrators or application developers cannot think about a hacker, think like a hacker. Hackers do think like differently. They do think differently actually. They think differently. They do differently. They don't do the straight way. They just go round to do the same thing. So those system administrator or network administrator cannot think like a hacker. So ethical hackers' job is to do those things or those attacks those hackers can do, and they think like a hacker. So basically, ethical hacker is also a hacker, but it is not doing the malicious things. It is actually using the same techniques and tricks and the tools which is used by the hacker, which is used by the malicious hacker, but it is using it by the concerned authority's permission. That means the organization is giving the authority to use those things on their system. And why this ethical hacker is doing that thing? To get the vulnerabilities who can use by the other hackers. So they try to get the information about the vulnerabilities they have leave in the system. So system security person do that thing to secure the system. They do create the firewall, they do configure these firewalls and other things, but they are not able to think about like hackers. So ethical hackers' job is to do the same things what any hacker can do. They use those tools and tricks and techniques, and they do this to identify the vulnerabilities. And remember, vulnerabilities are the weaknesses in the system. So sometimes by misconfiguration or by ignorance, system administrators do leave those vulnerabilities, leave those open ports or loops which can be used by the attacker. So ethical hacker's job is to find out those things, and it will do it by the permission of the concerned authorities. So actually organizations hire these ethical hackers to do the test on their system, to find out the problems in their system. So when they configure it properly, after the configuration and everything, they do call the ethical hackers to do the test on their system. So this is what ethical hacking. And when you say about hacking, it is what it is normally doing the malicious things. So why ethical hacking is necessary? It is to beat a hacker, and you need to think like one. So to beat a hacker, you need to think like one. And ethical hacking is necessary as it allows counter-attack from malicious attackers by anticipating the method used by them to break into a system. So whatever the method they can use, if we know the methods, then we can do the preventive task, and we can do anticipate their methods to use the preventive methods or preventive measures. So reasons why organizations recruit these ethical hackers. They recruit to prevent the hackers from gaining access to the organization's information system. They recruit the ethical hackers to uncover the vulnerabilities in the system and explore their potential of risk. To analyze and strengthen an organization's security posture, including policies, network protections, infrastructures, and end user practices. They recruit the ethical hackers to provide adequate preventive measures in order to avoid security breaches, to help safeguard the customer's data available in business transactions, and to enhance the security awareness at all levels in a business. So ethical hackers' job is to do those things which any malicious hackers do and try to get the information. Now remember, they are doing this by the permissions of the the permissions of the organization. So they will not do actually the harmful things. They will do those things, but they will not harm the system. When at the point when the system is getting harmed, they will stop and they will make the logs. They will make the report that this way somebody can get into the system and they can harm your system, and they will create the report. Ethical hackers' job is to create the report of the problems and also provide the solution. So ethical hacking is very necessary for the organizations. So ethical hackers try to answer the following questions. It is very simple. It is just trying to answer these questions. What can the intruder see on the target system? This is what reconnaissance and scanning phase. So in reconnaissance and scanning phase, these attackers try to see the information, gather the information. So ethical hackers' job is to just find out that what the intruders can see in the target system in these two phases. What are the informations are available and what are the information should not be available in the system, which is actually available. Then the next question is, what can an intruder do with that information? So whatever information is available or we can see of the system, target system, so what we can do with that information? That means how we can use that information to gain or maintain the access. So if attackers are getting some serious or secret informations or which should not be revealed, so they can use that information to do some harmful thing or not. Then third question is that, does anyone at the target notice the intruder's attempts or successes? So which is what, again, reconnaissance and covering tracks. So basically ethical hackers job, it do what, it will try to see that is anyone notice the intruding things. Like ethical hacker try to do the attack and then it will try to see that is anyone notices this attack or not. Does anyone notices or anyone sees that someone is attacking? Then fourth question is that if all the components of information system are adequately protected, updated and patched. So it will check that all the information system, the network and systems and devices are properly protected or not, and also the applications are updated and patched so that no one can use those vulnerabilities which is there. Then how much effort, time and money is required to obtain the adequate protection. So this is also important to provide the preventive methods also, that ethical hackers will do provide the preventive methods, that how you can secure the system. Then it will also see that how much effort it will take, time it will take and money it will take to obtain the adequate protection. Then are the information security measures in compliance with the industry and legal standards. We have to take care about the legal things also, that whatever the legal thing is on the industry standards are there. So we have to make sure that information security measures which we want to take is the legal standards under the industry's law. Then scopes and limitations of ethical hacking. Now you are not a malicious hacker, you are ethical hacker. And remember, what we are learning here is ethical hacking. We are not learning hacking, we are not learning malicious hacking. It is a good career in this ethical hacking, security auditing. But when you do the ethical hacking, you are having some scopes and then you are having some limitations also. So the scope of ethical hacking is a crucial component of risk assessment, auditing, counter fraud and information system security best practices. This is the scope of ethical hacking, and it is used to identify risk and highlight the remediation action, and also reduce information and communication technology caused by resolving those vulnerabilities. Then ethical hacking has some limitations also. Now, however, unless the businesses first know what it is that they are looking for and why they are hiring on outside vendor to hack systems in the first place, so chances are there would not be much to gain from the experience. Remember, organizations are giving the authority to other persons, other vendors, and they are telling them to hack their systems. So they will not allow you to do everything. So it is not the good experience for them. Then ethical hacker thus can only help the organization to better understand their security system. But it is up to the organization to place the right guards on the network or not. So ethical hackers limitation is that it can only suggest the thing. Like it can say that you should use this or you should not use this. But it is totally up to the organization. They can use it, they can accept the suggestions or not. Sometimes they are having some limitations that they cannot change. Like for example, suppose some organizations having developed some application for them. They have an application for their organization, they have developed the application for them, and that application they have developed for suppose Windows 7. That means their application is working on Windows 7. Now I tell them, I have tell them that this Windows 7 is having lots of problems, and it is having some vulnerabilities. Now it is better to use now latest version Windows 10 you should use, or Windows 8 you should use. But they will say, okay, you have tell us, then fine, but we cannot use Windows 8 or 10 because our application is only work on Windows 7. so we can't do anything. This is our limitation. This is ethical hackers limitation. We can suggest them that you should use this operating system, but using is the problem of organization. They will use it or not use it. This is the problem of that organization. So this is our limitation. Then we have to suggest the other thing to secure Windows 7, because they are not want to use the other operating system. So we have to make sure that they will do. We have to provide the other things, like we should tell them that you should update your application to support Windows 10 or something, or you should prevent some you should use some preventive methods to secure the Windows 7 also. Because when you go for the latest, when Windows comes up with the latest operating system, it stops the support for old systems. So slowly it stops the support for old system. It will stop the giving the updates also and patches also. So the system will remain unsecure. So you should use the latest one, which getting the latest updates also. So your system must be updated and patched. Now we are having a limitations. We can only suggest. We cannot force them to do that, because it's their organization. Now, skill of an ethical hacker. Now, skills, that means what are the skills ethical hacker should have? This is the same skills any hacker should also have. Some technical skills. Now, it should have has in-depth knowledge of major operating environments such as Windows, Unix, Linux, and Macintosh. Because anywhere could be anything. Somewhere you will see Windows, somewhere you will see Linux, somewhere you will see Unix. So any ethical hacker or hacker, it should have the knowledge of operating system environment. It should have in-depth knowledge such as Windows, Unix, Linux, and Macintosh. Then it should has in-depth knowledge of networking concepts, technologies, and related hardware and software. So it should have knowledge of network, what is network, how it works, what are the devices are there, routers, switches, and all. Then it should be a computer expert, adept at technical domain. So it should be expert in computer. It should know all thing about computer, hardware and software, and technical things. Then it should has a knowledge of security areas and related issues also. So it should know that what are the security areas and how it works, and how and what is some related issues also. Then it should has a high technical knowledge to launch this sophisticated attack. High technical knowledge, like we can say that programming knowledge to create its own attacking tool, its own trojans, its own rootkits and backdoors it can create. So it should have high technical knowledge. So these are the skills of technical skills the attacker should have. Then there are some non-technical skills also that should be also any hacker or ethical hacker should have. That some of the non-technical characteristics of ethical hacker are ability to learn and adapt new technology quickly. So if you want to be a hacker or ethical hacker, then you should have an ability to learn more and adapt the new technology quickly. Then you should have strong ethics. Now this thing is for ethical hacker, and good problem solving and communication skills. So problem solving and communication skills also should be there for an ethical hacker to be a good ethical hacker. Then it should be committed to organization security policies. So it should be committed to organization's security policies because it is working with the organization. So it has to be committed with the organization's security policies. This is for ethical hacker. Then awareness of local standards and laws. So when you do something, and if you doing some malicious things, then you should know what are the laws in that country, in that city, so that you cannot do, you will not do those things which can make you in trouble. So you don't want to get into legal troubles, so you have to know about the laws and standard of local laws. And different countries have different laws, different IT laws, so you should know the local laws of that country, that city also. Now, penetration testing concepts and penetration testing. Now, what is penetration testing? So basically, the penetration testing is a method of evaluating the security of an information system or network by simulating an attack to find out vulnerabilities that an attacker could exploit. So basically, what security audit we do, it is called penetration testing. So organizations hire these ethical hackers to do the penetration testing on their organization, so that it can find out the problems and vulnerabilities of the system. So basically this penetration testing is a method of evaluating the security of an information system or network by simulating an attack. It will simulate, an ethical hacker will simulate the attack to find out the vulnerabilities that an attacker could exploit. Then security measures are actively analyzed for design weaknesses, technical flaws and vulnerabilities. A penetration test will not only point out vulnerabilities but also document how the weaknesses can be exploited. And the results are delivered comprehensively in a report to executive management and technical audiences. So whatever the finding of the penetration test is there, ethical hackers will create the report, comprehensively create the record and deliver it to the executive management and also the technical audiences. And that is what it is called, penetration testing. So why penetration testing? Why we do the penetration testing? Simple, to identify the threat facing an organization information asset, reduce an organization expenditure on IT security and enhance return of security investment by identifying and remediating vulnerabilities or weaknesses, provide assurance with comprehensive assessment of organization security including policy, procedure, design and implementation, gain and maintain certification to an industry regulation, and adopt the best practices in compliance to legal and industry regulation, and for testing and validating the efficiency of security protections and controls, for changing or upgrading existing infrastructure of software, hardware and network design, focuses on high security vulnerabilities and emphasizes application level security issues to development teams and management, provide a comprehensive approach of penetration steps that can be taken to prevent upcoming exploitation, evaluate the efficiency of network security devices such as firewall, routers and web servers. These are the all reasons why we do the penetration testing. And comparing security audit, vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. What is the difference between these? What's first of all security audit? We say security audit just checks whether the organization is following a set of standard security policies and procedures. It will only check what that they are using the security policies properly, standard policies, or they are using the standard procedures. Only that it will check in security audit. Vulnerability assessment will check and it will focuses on discovering the vulnerabilities in the information system but provides no identification if the vulnerabilities can be exploited or the amount of damage that may result from the successful exploitation of the vulnerabilities. So it will not provide the information about that how and how much it can be damaged, it can damage your system, and how much this vulnerability is exploitable. That means when you use the vulnerability to do the attack is called exploit. So vulnerability assessment only focuses on discovering the vulnerabilities, but it will not tell you that how much harmful this vulnerability is and how much it can be exploitable. But penetration testing is a methodological approach to security assessment that encompasses the security audit and vulnerability assessment, and demonstrates if the vulnerabilities in system can be successfully exploited by attacker. Now in penetration testing we have blue teaming and red teaming. Now blue teaming means it's an approach where a set of security responders performs analysis of an information system to assess the adequacy and efficiency of its security control. And blue team has access to all the organizational resources and information. Primary role is to detect and mitigate red team attackers, that the red team, that means the attacker activities, and to anticipate how surprise attacks might occur. So blue team is the security responders which do the analysis on information and try to make the preventive method and securing the system, and they will try to save the system from the red team. Now in other hand you have red teaming. This red team has an approach where a team of ethical hackers perform penetration tests on an information system with no or very limited access to the organization's internal resources. Remember, blue team has all the accesses because they are doing it from within the system, and these are the red team which is not having any access. These are assuming like they are attacker. So they are not having any or we can say very limited access to the organization's internal resources. Now it may be conducted with or without warning. So this red teaming, what it will do, it can do the attack without any warning also, without informing the blue team that we are going to attack this day on this time. That is how the attacker can do. Then it is proposed to detect network and system vulnerabilities and check security from an attacker's perspective, approach to the network, system or information access. So red team do the same approach as attacker can do and try to do the surprise attack on the system. And blue team job is to do the to mitigate the attack from the red team. Then there is so types of penetration testing. There are different types of penetration testing, that is black box, white box and grey box. Now black box means no prior knowledge of the infrastructure to be tested. Blind testing, or we can say double blind testing. That means in this case penetration tester does not know anything about the network and infrastructure of the system, the organization. They don't know anything, they will do everything, they will find out everything and do the attack. White box means complete knowledge of the infrastructure that needs to be tested. Now here it will know all the things in the network and infrastructure, and it will call white box. Grey box, that means limited knowledge of the infrastructure that needs to be tested. So it will have a limited knowledge of the system and infrastructure where they are going to be attacked. Now these are the phases of penetration testing. So phases of penetration testing, first is pre-attack phase. Now pre-attack phase includes planning and preparation, then methodology designing, then network information gathering. So planning and preparation, methodology designing and network information gaining is basically attackers two phase, reconnaissance and scanning phase. So in pre-attack phase, penetration testing, penetration tester do try to do the reconnaissance and scanning phase. It do plan in preparation, do methodology designing, and do the network information gathering. Then the next phase is attack phase. Now in the attack phase, it is like it is the gaining and maintaining access phase of normal hacker. So it do what here? Penetrating the perimeters. That means it will try to penetrate the parameters, try to acquire the target, acquiring the target, try to escalating the privileges if it gets the access, then execution, implementation and retracting. Then it will do execution, implementation and retracting. Then after the attack phase, there comes the post-attack phase. This is the same like clearing tracks phase of a normal hacker. In here, it will do the reporting thing. So whatever it finds in pre-attack and attack phase and also in the post-attack phase, it will do reporting. And it will also clean up the tracks and artifacts destruction to clear the tracks. So it do the cleanup, artifact destruction, whatever it has used the tool, whatever trojans and malwares they have installed in the system, they will remove everything from the system, clean the system and create the report that what they have done and what the access they have got and what they have got the vulnerabilities. So these are the phases of penetration testing. Now information security laws standards. Now when you go for security, when you go for penetration testing or even go for hacking, then you should know the laws of the IT laws. Like you should know the IT laws of the country or of the particular state or particular city, because you don't want to get into the serious problem of law. So you should know the law, that how much what are the laws are there and what the laws are allowed, so that you can suggest the organizations that what is the preventive methods according to the law related to your city, state or country. For example, these are the IT laws in United States. These are the different laws and acts we have. These are sections, and you can check these laws and you can get the detail of these laws from these websites. So these are the different laws are there, and these are the different sites where you can get the information about that laws, that what are those laws, what they said, and what are the consequences of that laws when you break those laws. This is for United States, and same as you have other countries also, like Australia, you are having these laws, you can check it on this site. United Kingdom, you have these laws, you can check on this site. In China, you have these laws, you can check on this site. In India, you have these laws, you can check on this site. And Germany, you have these laws, you can check on these sites. Then these are the other countries like Italy, Japan, Canada, Singapore, South Africa, South Korea, Belgium, Brazil, Hong Kong. These are the laws of those countries, and these are the websites where you can get the detailed informations. So this is what the introduction of information security, ethical hacking, CEH. So this is what we have seen today. What are the hacking, what are the phases of hacking, what is penetration testing, what is ethical hacking, and how it works.